So part of what you're going to be doing for this week is you're going to create journal entries to report my revenue earned for the week. And you don't have to worry because we're going to cover this in much more detail in the next video. But let's just talk about this work in the context of an interview. Let's just imagine you're sitting down with an employer and you're talking about what you did working here for me. So what would you say, right? How would you frame this in an interview answer? Well, an average candidate might say something along the lines of, at my internship, I utilize bookkeeping skills to create journal entries that report revenue earned on a weekly basis. Now, this answer is worded pretty well, right? You're talking about what you did and everything makes sense, but do you think this answer is strong? Let's think about it. Let's approach it from what I've been talking about in the last video where we get down to the business need and how you were involved in that business need. So a stronger candidate with better communication skills might say something like, I collected and organized daily transactions that the front desk produces on a day-to-day basis. And what I did was I organized these transactions to create financial reports that tracked revenue performance. These reports are then able to be used by management to drive home key decisions in business operations and really improve any operational inefficiencies. How does that sound? Do you think that sounds better? You see, at the end of the day, you're doing the same shit. But notice the huge difference in how you're communicating. That second answer, it has a thought process. And it talks about things that your future employer actually cares about. It talks about, what I've been talking about this whole time, which is the business need and how you were involved in fulfilling that business need. So I can't see you, but I can probably guess your reaction to my second answer. What the hell did Tony just say? What does all that mean? But don't worry, after I expose you to some key concepts in this video, it's going to make a lot more sense. So to start off, the business need for this week is that a manager has to know how the hotel is performing in order to do anything. This understanding is really the only way he or she can make any business decisions. And I'm going to give you an example, okay, that's happening right now. So I don't want you to tell anyone, but the elevator that Ramada currently uses is 33 years old. The average lifespan of one, 25 years old. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to be getting a call soon that a poor guest is stuck inside and I need to rescue him. And more than likely it's going to happen at 3 a.m. because that's when stuff always happens when I'm sleeping. So you might say, okay, Tony, the solution is easy enough, right? Just buy a new elevator. But what if I told you that the cost of a new elevator is $130,000? So now it's going to be a little bit more complicated than that because we're going to have all sorts of new questions like, can we even afford this elevator? How should we finance it? Are we going to have enough cash on hand on a monthly basis to pay it off? How does it affect my other plans for renovations, like redoing the carpets and adding tiles to our bathrooms? How does that come into play? Now, these questions are going to be able to be answered if I, as the manager, have a good understanding of my financial performance. If I know how well I'm doing and I can predict how well I will be doing, I'll know what to do. And so this takes us back to the theme of everything I've been talking about, which is the business need. All right, so we now know the business need, which is we need a system in place that measures our financial performance and gives us a tool for making our business decisions. So now, how do we make this happen? How do we create this tool? And even more importantly, how do you fit into this picture? So just a quick disclaimer, this next section that I will be covering is very accounting heavy. So I wish I would be able to jump out of the monitor and throw a pencil at you if you doze off, but unfortunately I cannot. So make sure you listen because this is really important. We're going to cover what is called the financial management cycle. I know, very exciting stuff. This is a 4-step process that's going to basically take us to a solution to fulfilling this business need. And it actually starts with my front desk staff. It starts when we have a guest that comes to the lobby and gets greeted by the front desk. Because once the guest gets checked into the hotel, something magical happens. Basically, what happens is our system posts what is called a room charge. Let me show you what it actually looks like in our system. So this is our property management system. It's a fancy way of saying software that my front desk uses among many other things to check our guests in. So let's take a look at one of our guests here. We have here a man named Donald Trump. He actually complained last night and left the day early because he got stuck in an elevator, but we're just going to use him as an example, okay? So as you can see, Mr. Trump stayed at our property for 1 day. He checked in on the 5th. So when we go to the screen, we can see that on the 5th, a room charge is posted for the night. And now the best way to describe this room charge that you're seeing is think of it as a waiter giving you a bill after you have eaten at the restaurant. We're basically saying, hey Donald Trump, you use our services for this night, so this is the amount you're going to have to pay me. Which makes sense, right? That on his day of the checkout, the 6th, he pays $90 on his Visa card. So why am I talking about waiters and room charges? I thought we were on the topic of the financial management cycle. Well, here's the point, okay? The moment a room charge is posted, it basically means the business has earned revenue. The moment a room charge is posted, it basically means the business has earned revenue. And this is pretty cool, right? Because as my front desk staff simply just goes about doing their day-to-day tasks, they're checking guests in, they're checking guests out, they're automatically producing the numbers we need for accounting. And so this is step one of the financial management cycle. With these transactions, such as the room charges and that Visa payment that you saw that they post, they're giving us very valuable data for us to be able to use later on. And so this takes us to step two, because we have all these numbers that the front desk produces, but we need to be able to organize them. Because you see, the front desk, all they really care about is putting the guests into the room, making sure they're happy, and collecting the money. They'll post the room charges on their front desk system because that's what they're trained to do. That's what they know how to do to bill the guests. But as far as the accounting side is concerned, they don't give a rat's ass. That's not their job. The responsibility falls upon the accounting department to collect these numbers and make sense of them. And so this is where you come in. Remember how in the beginning of the video I talked about creating journal entries? Well, that is actually how we're able to organize these numbers. The creation of journal entries helps us organize these numbers. We're going to be able to convert these random numbers into useful accounting information that in the end we're going to be able to use to drive decisions in operations and a lot of other different things, as you'll learn in the future weeks. And so the accumulation of all of these journal entries make up our end product, which is our financial statements. So the next step goes to the management level, where they analyze the useful and converted accounting information. This analysis is usually done by comparing different things. So a manager may look at the income statement that is prepared and ask questions like, how did we do compared to last year or last month or even last week? Or they might even ask, okay, this is the amount of money that we earned for the week. This is the amount of money that we spent on paying my front desk staff and paying my housekeeping. How do they compare? Does the ratio make sense? Is the amount that we're spending in proportion to the amount of money that we're making? And this is another concept that we're going to go in very much detail in the future lessons. So finally, we finish with the last step, where management takes this analysis and conclusions and they make key decisions to improve the business. This whole financial management cycle is crucial in helping me figure out whether or not I should replace my old elevator, or when I would say I'm gonna have to replace it eventually. Don't worry, but when should I replace this elevator? So by this time, if you replay the video, I hope that you now have a better understanding of the second answer I gave as the better candidates in an interview. We start off with the business need. Management needs a measurement of financial performance in order to make any decisions. And to make this happen, we have what is called, what you've just learned, the financial management cycle, where you collect and reorganize numbers produced by my front desk staff. And this is going to result in very useful accounting reports that tie back to our business need. And I really want to go back, okay? I want to go back to the whole reason I've spent the past, I don't know how many minutes, rambling on about this stupid cycle. I've given you a 10,000 foot look of the business, so you can look straight down and understand the business need and how you're involved in fulfilling it. And the purpose of this video was really to give you a thought process. So just to give you some tips from a practical standpoint, once you start getting interviews for your jobs, I really suggest that you rewatch videos like this, so you can use this really important information to craft your interview answers. Because the actual work that you'll be doing isn't rocket science. You're creating journal entries. Once I show you the video in the next one, it won't be hard to learn. But the way you communicate it and frame it to an employer, that's hard to learn, and that makes all the difference. Remember, what is your end goal here, right? It's for you to leverage this experience to get a job. But the only way you can do that is to know what you're talking about and be able to have that thought process. So finally, we're going to start doing some work. This now brings us to your first role in the internship, where you are going to be creating the journal entries. And it's going to be really cool because I've shown you the concepts and the theory behind everything in this video. But in the next video, you're going to see how Microsoft Excel makes this happen. And you're going to be learning a lot of formulas as well. Specifically, you're going to be learning about the SUMIFS formula that is very transferable to your future internship. So stay tuned.